Welcome, everybody. And as more people join, we're just asking you to put in the chat your name and where you're joining us from, so we can get a sense for the global experience that is happening here.
Yeah, well, we have Susie from sunny Brighton, who I'm English and I live on the south coast, not very far away from Brighton.
We've got Carmen in Vienna, we've got Lynette in Calgary.
Lars from China, Tim from LA, Federica from Leeds. What a wonderful mixture.
Oh, goodness, everybody's all around.
Yay. Okay, great. It's good to have you. Isabella from Dubai. Michael from Salim from Oman. Yay, welcome. So, Sandra, shall we make a start?
Let's make a start. Yeah, welcome everybody from around the world as we've been hearing you all check in. Delighted to have you here.
Yeah.
And we have our tech host getting oriented to our slides here. Yes. If you're seeing that, there we go.
Okay, so experience the power of coactive coaching. And here is what to expect.
Yeah.
Learn what coaching is. Just switching my light on here.
Switching the light on. All right, we're going to turn a light on about what coaching is. On the lights, right?
Learn what coaching is,
what it's not. You're going to witness a live demonstration of coaching today.
Yeah, and we hope experience several coaching skills, listen to a debrief, and then the floor will be opened for your questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. Yeah. So, designing our alliance. Okay, I think it's there on the slide. Nothing in this webinar is scripted, just to let you know. And we want to sort of model coactive. We want to model that coactive coaching is so based on relationship. And in our courses, we always have two leaders. So today we have two leaders.
There will be a coaching demonstration in this, and there will be someone who's a real client with a real topic that we don't know personally, and just want to honor that whatever that person shares is confidential in that. So for anyone who's listening, it's pretty courageous to be coached in front of a bunch of people you don't know, and we really want to make sure that what is said in this webinar stays here.
Well, and of course, this webinar will not be confidential. So unlike our courses where we really absolutely underline the need for confidentiality, our model client has agreed that the coaching demo will not be confidential.
Yes.
However,
she knows she's going to be coached in front of a lot of people. That's not a surprise.
Yeah. However, she will be bringing a real topic for the coaching session.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And I think it is Ritu. We'll have to find out exactly how we pronounce her name. We'll get there in the end. So what is coaching?
Hey, Antony, maybe we should say a little bit more about ourselves. We're just kind of jumped in. We love to do it, CTI. We love to just jump in and start, right?
Okay.
I'll start. So I'm Sandra Cain. I'm based in Minneapolis, and I've been in the coaching field for a lot of years now. I started pretty young. I'm always a little humbled by this, but at least 20 years. My previous work was in an organization, and I did I had lots of cool opportunities there for about 9 or 10 years, or maybe more. And then I found coaching, and this is just where I jumped in with both feet, and have been in the business of coaching, like I said, for about 20 years, maybe a little bit more. How about you?
I'm Antony Parry. I have been coaching for 21 years. Before that, I was a journalist for a long time. So I worked for an international news agency. And I always say to people who come to our very first course that you've been coaching already. Something pulls you into coaching and you've been coach-like already. So certainly it was the case for me. So I always say that you want to make big changes in your life and you're already a coach.
Yeah. Great.
So I think even if you've never been coached or coaching and you're in this webinar, something has called you to be here.
Yes. Well said.
Welcome.
So how about we talk about the definition of coaching? How do we define that? We've got a slide for it. the word coaching is used pretty casually, in a lot of our work, a lot of people's work, but we have a specific definition here about it being coaching is partnering with an individual in a thought-provoking, creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And that comes from the ICF. But it really, part of that language that I think really stands out to me is partnering with somebody. You imagine that you're side by side. You don't have the authority, you don't have the answers, but you engage them in a thoughtful process that helps them come to their own answers.
Yeah, I would say that it's based on a well-designed relationship. We have a very dear colleague who's now passed away, but he used to say, coaching is to have a life to be lived, not a problem to be solved. I think that is such a simple, direct way of saying, yes, do you want a life to be lived to the best of your ability?
He would love that you brought that in here. I'm
just yeah,
our dear friend
absolutely.
Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, Saint Jim. So what we're going to do in this seminar is to give you an example of a coaching tool, very common in almost all the coaching schools, and it's called the Wheel of Life.
It's a simple tool in some ways, but it reveals a lot. And it's basically asking somebody to measure all the major components of their life with a 1 to 10 scale, and then taking a look to see what stands out. What do they notice? Where are they already feeling really strong, and where do they want to improve?
Yeah, I think the emphasis is on satisfaction. 1 means I'm not satisfied. 10 means I'm highly satisfied. So it drops the judgment of, oh, I should be doing this. I should not be doing that. Are you satisfied with your family and friends? Are you satisfied with fun and recreation? You can see that there are 8 segments in the wheel.
It's an interesting point, because I may be really great at my job or really successful, but I may not be very satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, there's one for significant other. You may not have a significant other and you're completely satisfied with that. So again, satisfaction, not judgment about how good or bad it is.
Right.
And of course, you can use this tool in other sectors. You can have a wheel of romantic love. You can have a wheel of professional life. You can adopt it in so many ways. But this is what we call the Wheel of Life.
Right.
We give it to our clients and we ask them to take a snapshot and to mark themselves from 1 to 10. So, Susan, if you could pass the next slide, go to the next slide, it gives you an example. There's a close-up of half of it. Yeah. So you might say, my career is just a 4, and you'd mark it that way on the chart.
And the next one, Susan? It might also be an 8.
An 8, yeah.
Right. That's meant, you can see the 1 through 10 on kind of the lower left-hand side. That's meant to show the gradient, again, of the measure of satisfaction. How satisfied are you? And here's the thing about this tool. It's quite simple, but quite revealing. And it is just a point in time. It does depend a bit on how you feel in the moment that you do it. You might do your own Wheel of Life on a Tuesday, and you might do it a couple weeks later and feel like, wow, it's very different. It's a little bumpier. It's a little bit different. I'm just more satisfied or less satisfied that day. So it really is, it's not the kind of thing that is a measure of your life. It's a measure of your satisfaction in a moment. Yeah.
It's not a tattoo. It's a snapshot.
I'm going to quote you about that. It's not a tattoo, it's a snapshot. Great.
Okay. Well, if it is, then you have to ink it over and start again pretty often.
That's right.
And when we use it, we do not say, there's a low score. What are you going to do about that? We say to the client, what is the one sector that attracts you, or that you might like to talk about it? So the coach isn't judgmental about the score.
Right.
The coach remains curious about where the client wants to go.
Yeah. And the client gets to drive that. It doesn't matter what the coach is curious about. It's what's catching the client's attention. Maybe the 8 or the 2 feels really good to them and it's not particularly compelling in that moment, but they want to work on a different category. So that's an important distinction. You, of course, as a coach, you're human. You might notice some things and you can kind of neutrally reveal that back. But don't get too attached to that, because remember, this is a moving target. And it really is up to the client to decide what's important to them.
Yeah. So let us dive in, and I will do a coaching demo, and I hope that Ritu is here if we can discover her. Let's see. And then after the demo, Sandra will do a debrief about what you're noticing.
And when he does this demonstration, we want you to be paying attention to mostly what Antony does and doesn't do, maybe, right?
Yeah,
of course,
okay.
You're going to notice, of course, there she is. Welcome, thank you.
Well, thank
curious
you.
about Ritu, but your attention is largely on how does Antony interact with what she says or what she doesn't say in this example.
Yeah. Well, first of all, may I check how I pronounce your name?
Great.
It's Ritu.
Ritu. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And thank you so much for volunteering, being volunteered. And you've already looked at the Wheel of Life, and you've decided which area that you'd like to be coached on. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, good. Could I design with you that if something isn't working and or you want something more, I know this is probably quite difficult to do it so publicly, but will you check in with me? And so if I'm saying something that's wrong or you want something more, you're in charge. Yeah. You don't believe me, do you? You do believe me.
No, I do.
Okay, great, good. So what was the area of the Wheel of Life that you chose?
So I scored myself very similar on 3 areas: career, personal growth, and money. So in my opinion, those 3 are somewhat interconnected, at least for me, for my life. And even though they are interconnected, I would like to choose career.
And what was the score that you gave yourself on career?
It's 7.
7. Yeah. What makes it a 7 for you?
So right now I am content with what I have. I have a good job title, and I have flexibility, which is sometimes it's rare. So I'm happy with what I have at this time. But I want more, so that's why I didn't put 9 or 10. And 7.
Yeah. So you're content, you have the right title, you have flexibility, and you want more.
Yes.
Yeah. What's missing?
So I want to grow in my career. I want to grow in this role, and perhaps gain more responsibilities, and make more impact in my current role or in a future role. But that path is not clear to me at this time.
What would growth be like for you?
To be able to make bigger decisions, and manage a larger team than I have right now, and just broader responsibilities than to be focusing on a narrow path.
Yeah. So a broader responsibility, more people, bigger impact. Yeah. There's a big smile comes on your face there. Yeah. And what would the impact be?
I think impact can be 2 ways. One impact will be that I will be making an impact for myself, that I am able to prove myself and push my limits and kind of see that I can do more and I can be successful, and also make an impact in the lives of people that work with me, that would benefit from the decisions that I will make, and new programs that I will build and bring to the organization.
So I'm hearing creativity and certain amount of pioneering work too. Yeah, there's a big nod there. Yeah, yeah. It's funny, I don't usually do this, but because you're already at a 7, I'm going to just experiment with you and say, what would it be like to go back to a 4 or a 3?
Oh, wow. That's a very good question. I would be stuck in a job that's 9 to 5 without any flexibility,
Yeah.
and lack of work-life balance, no family time, no vacation time, just work.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm sort of going, "Oh, okay." So putting that aside, you are at a 7. What would it be like to be at an 11?
Oh, wow. I see myself just being more confident, feeling more confidence, and be able to work with more people, kind of broaden my horizon and learn more and new things and experience new things.
Yeah. Learning, experimentation, broadened the horizon. And I noticed you looked up. There was a kind of like, ooh, a vision there. Yeah. So we'll give you all the things that we took away when we went back to 4, like work-life balance, family, creativity, flexibility. You've got those, okay? The word that comes again for me is a slight risk, like, wow, I need to challenge myself. I need to take on more.
That is true. Yeah.
For the sake of
my growth,
your growth, and also, but the impact that you would have on a wider group of people.
That is true.
What would they thank you for?
That I cared, I listened, and I was willing to put effort to make changes happen.
Yeah. I'm going to be a little challenging here. I think you've got that handled already.
Okay.
That you care, that you're willing to listen, and that you're willing to put into effect changes. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the big thing that you're longing for to make it an 11 or 12?
I think ultimately that's a tough question. I think it's ultimately just kind of everything that I have right now, but have that in a larger scale.
Yeah. Okay. Everything that you have now, but on a larger scale. Yeah. Okay. So you're a 7 now. What would it be like to sort of move to an 8.5 or 8 3/4?
That I think I still have what I have, but maybe I am pushing myself more to work with more people so that I can impact more people than I impact right now.
Yeah.
And on the side, I am gaining skills, and that's kind of adding to my growth as well.
Yeah. So you are learning new skills and you are challenging yourself to work on a bigger scale. Anything? Oh, look, yeah, like I said, it was like, yeah, thank you. There was a little kind of like a little coyness there, a little shyness.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I would challenge you to say, I am doing this. I will do this.
Okay.
I am learning new skills. I'm working on a bigger scale. So if you were to think of maybe one small thing, one small step that would get you towards that learning and that bigger scale, what would it be?
I think the skills that I want to gain, I have a an idea as to what those could be.
Could you share them with me, please? What are they?
They are very much related to my field. It's a technical skill set as well as people skill set too.
Okay.
So technical skills would be kind of I work in human resources talent development. So technical skills could be, how do I get better at, succession planning, org design,
Okay.
and executive compensation.
Okay.
So those are the technical skills, and the people skills could be, how do I get better at training and development, and speaking in public, and
well, you're doing a wonderful job here, Ritu. You're really doing a marvelous job. So there were 3 technical areas, and then there was training and development.
Yes.
What would you choose to say, I'm going to start making a commitment to step forward into increased capacity and increased scale?
So are you asking me to choose one out of
No,
3 or...
no, you can have as many
Okay.
as you like, but I just made it up that you might need one from technical and one from training and development.
Okay. So, I would like to start from where I lack the most at this time, and kind of bring it up to the others, at the levels of others, and then work on the other 2. So I think that would be executive compensation from technical.
Okay. Yep.
And in terms of public speaking, I think I need to put myself out there and train as many people. We do have opportunities within our organization to train people.
Yep.
So I just have to kind of explore that and find a way.
Can I jump in and challenge you?
Yes, please.
Will you commit to train some people in your organization in the next week? Remember, you can say yes or no, or you can make a counter offer.
I think I'll go with the counter offer. Only because my next week is very, very hectic with a lot of other things.
All right. The week after next.
Yeah, I think that's doable. I can, within the next 2 weeks, I can definitely find an opportunity.
Okay. And how would you like to be held accountable?
I can start thinking about, what that opportunity be within this week. And then try to connect with people within this week. And their schedule will be a concern as well. So at least I can start the process within this week.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you, in a way, you don't really need external accountability. When you commit to something, it gets done. Yeah,
pretty much.
I love that. Yeah, I love the way that. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. And then we don't want to go too long, but executive compensation. What's one little thing that you could take on for that?
The way my personality goes, I like to do research and I like to learn more, and I to kind of, create more like an agenda, what are the things that I need to learn first, and create like a plan.
Okay.
So I think I would love to do some research and create a plan as to, what are the things that I need to learn, and what are the things that I already know, and create that plan. It sounds easier said than done, but I think I need to do it.
How are you with deadlines?
I think I make them for the most part.
Okay, so if I said by October the 5th, you will have done the imperfect plan for discovering about executive compensation.
So can I go with a counter offer?
Of course you can.
October 5th is too close. How about October 15th?
Okay, the middle of October. Okay, so you've got two commitments, and it's in service of you developing yourself and having a bigger impact
That is
on the
true.
people that you work with. Yeah. And you will be able to do that because you've got this commitment. You've had the courage to come here and be coached. So you've already spoken in public. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being my client.
Thank you.
It's
Appreciate
been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Oh, and there are floating hands going up the side of my screen. I don't know quite what they mean.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Ritu.
Thank you. Yes, lots of people applauding you in all the ways we
Okay.
can virtually. I've never seen the
Yay.
floating hands. That's new for
No,
me.
look, there's another one. Oh no. At least I'm seeing things.
It's either really cool or really freaky or both.
Yeah.
A little bit of
Woo.
both. Like it. Great. So, wow, thank you so much for jumping in and being a volunteer client in front of everybody and talking about
Yes,
something
thank you.
that matters
Much
to you.
appreciated.
Yeah, very courageous, and lots of people learning from you being willing to do that. And of course, Antony, you're getting some love as well for
Oh, thank
jumping
you.
into the unknown, in the moment. So I want to talk a bit about what went on in that demonstration of coaching, and focus on a few things people have been putting in the chat, different things they've noticed along the way. But there's a few things I want to highlight. And one of them is powerful questions. And there's so many different questions you asked her that you didn't have a clue what the answer was. And those are the best kind of questions. And ideally, your client doesn't have a clue until they think about it, right? It's a question that maybe other people don't ask. We don't typically ask people in regular conversation things like, how would you like to be held accountable? For example, not a powerful question, more pointing, but, or what would they thank you for? Probably something she's not ever thought about. I know I wouldn't have ever thought about that. We get a little bit tussled in our own head about what we think is happening or what might happen. But lots of different powerful questions, things like, what's the big thing you're longing for? What a great question. Yeah. What prompted you to go there? Do you remember?
Curiosity and longing. Like, what are you longing for? We say that powerful questions take you somewhere that you probably haven't thought about already. And this wonderful client several times went, "Oh, I haven't thought about that." Or
Yes.
that's a difficult question. It's not difficult in itself, but it's difficult that you haven't thought about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I often tell people the simplest way I think about coaching is I help people have conversations they don't have with anybody else.
Yeah.
We just don't. Unless you have a really good friend who's probably very coach-like, who can draw out, those kind of powerful questions or acknowledge somebody the way you did in this example. I mean, I've got some great friends, but we don't interact like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are coaches. It's just not how we are in our other relationships. This is a very different relationship and a very different conversation. And it's like the two of you side by side looking at it together.
I put it sometimes like the client suddenly hears themselves speak. It's like they say something and they go, "Oh, that's smart. I hadn't thought about that before."
Right.
So it's the making real what they've only just conceived of.
Right. Or maybe he's been running in the background but hasn't actually.
Yeah. It doesn't come from nowhere. Yeah, it's what they want.
True. Yeah. I also want to point out that we didn't know your job title until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's the best. The less you know about somebody's kind of day-to-day reality, the better coach you can be, or the easier it is probably to coach somebody. Because, when you know something about somebody, we tend to get curious there and want to dive into more of those kind of details. And when you don't know, it's easier to stay neutral and outside of it and just ask big questions. Like, what do you really want?
In a way, it's not about content. So it means that we can coach anyone about anything. And the more we know about content, the more we might be tempted to problem solve.
Yes.
Oh, I know about that. Or why don't you? You know, the way that consultants do, or the way normal human beings do.
We do. We think it's being helpful, and sometimes it is. If I'm lost and I need directions and you coach me, that's not helpful. Just tell me how to get home. There's a place for that,
Yeah.
but it's not in a coaching relationship. It really is, partnering with somebody to help them look at their situation differently. A couple other powerful questions. I think I said, what would they thank you for? What's the big thing you're longing for? How would you like to be held accountable even? That was an interesting question. So she got to decide what would be useful for her, not just what is typically good for people, right? Just a really cool way to be different with somebody.
Yeah. And when we coach, we have to hold our clients as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. Sometimes that means challenging them. I mean, I have no idea Ritu's workload or what she's up to. I threw dates out so that she could come back and go, not that, but this, a counter offer.
Yes. Yes. And a good sign that your client felt comfortable enough to actually say no.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes to this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Susan has put a long list of all the things that she noticed in the chat. So there's a lot that was going on. We've covered some of it. I also want to bring up the challenge that you gave her. I wrote it down. Let's see. Will you commit to train some people in the next week? I think was the challenge that you offered. And you could kind of feel the energy of like,
yeah, that was like, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Which is great. In our model, we call that a challenge because it's stretching somebody well beyond what is likely possible. And often just putting the time of in the next week or today at the end of a powerful question makes it a challenge for most people, because it's like, well, I can't do that today, or I can't do that this week, but I can do this. And that pivot is really where it gets interesting, because the challenge stretches the client beyond what they think is possible. And they will probably still come back with more than they would have.
Absolutely. I want to underline that, Sandra, that they will almost always come back with more than they thought they could.
Yes.
And one of the things that will really help a coach is that we notice what is happening in our client's body. So that, and when you set a challenge, as Sandra said, you'll get this kind of, oh no, I couldn't do that. And then they'll be going, well, I could do that. We are seeing and noticing and being with everything that happens in the client's body.
Yes. A huge part of focusing on the whole person, which is another aspect of the coactive model, not just their career or not just their relationship, but their physicality, their humanness, their whole life, of course, but their whole self as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was interesting with this client that, career, you might think, oh, well, but then there was learning, there was a personal development. So that was such a great model of you're always coaching the whole person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandra, do you think we should open it to questions now? We can dance in this moment.
There's a lot of comments in the chat about things, but any questions you had about what you observed or
Anand said, is coaching model to enable a self-help process?
Yes.
Yes is a short answer.
Yes.
But self-help often has overtones of something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And so, I would say, is it a self-development or a self-strengthening process?
Self-awareness, at least.
That's exactly, Sandra, you took the words out of my mouth. It's a self-awareness process. This is who I am. This is who I am at my best. This is what I want. Yeah.
And it's really partnering with the coach partners with the client. I think of the posture of side by side, us looking together at your life versus someone across from me, where there tends to be more of a rank, like more of an authority. In some situations it can feel like that, like somebody like you come to me because I have the answers for you. And that is the last thing I have for any of my clients. What I have is a whole bunch of questions and a bunch of stuff to reflect back to them and help them to come to their own answers.
Yeah.
A huge
Which is
pivot
why
for most relationships, right?
it is, which is why we really need to teach designing the alliance.
Yeah.
To show that the client is empowered and the client can ask for what they want when they want it.
Right.
So it's, if you go to, say, the doctors or the dentists, you don't negotiate with the dentist. I don't think I'm going to sit there. I'm not going to open my mouth. You're kind of told what to do.
Yep.
But coaching is different. Coaching
It
is
is
different.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. Michael Franks put an interesting comment here. Do you ever dwell on the obstacles? It says, I notice you didn't. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about that?
Good question. I would say if you look for obstacles, you find them. But there are times when the obstacles are so big that you have to pay attention to them.
Yes.
We have a lovely graphic. Perhaps I can just describe it. If you think about a person there and what they want to achieve, the obstacles might be a big wall in the middle. We're not trying to reduce the wall. We're trying to grow the person so that they can go over the wall.
That's a
So
great metaphor.
it comes back to growing the person rather than tackling I've got a floating thumbs up again.
Yeah.
I love that.
We're kind of nerding out with the tech, yes.
Yeah.
Michael asked, have them identify them. So I think what you're saying, Michael, is have your client identify the challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they will know, and they've lived with them. So in a way, we don't really want to hear a lot about them in coaching.
Yeah. So your client might present with that. And it's interesting. I love the question because I think that's how we are as humans. We like to talk about what's not working or what the obstacles are. I still do that. I've been a coach for 20 years. I still talk about that sometimes, but I have learned to catch myself more to say, what's the opportunity? Now, certainly the obstacles in some cases are so significant that they need to be experienced. And we have a whole, segment of our model that is really about dealing with the emotional experiences of life and the challenges that come with that. But as coaches, we don't want to zoom in on that too much because we really want to look at what's possible. It's not about stepping over and ignoring and life's great all the time, because it's not. There are legit obstacles that people navigate in their world and that we do. So it's kind of you have to feel the situation. We have a whole segment of our model that's about being with people in their emotional experiences. And that is a place where I would point in this model anyway. There are times when you need to be with somebody and just hang out with them and they're in the challenges before they can actually, the challenges are so great, they can't focus anywhere else. So that's acknowledged, but not solved. It doesn't have to be solved in coaching because that's not our job to solve.
Yeah. And often the obstacles are attached to a way of seeing the world or a perspective. So if you come along with advice and you don't change your perspective, that advice is useless. So we again focus on, how are you seeing this? What would be different if you use resources? And then you get a completely different, empowered place to look at the obstacles.
Therein is the great paradox of being a coach. Everybody who is a coach has some knowledge about something, right? I came from financial services, so I know a bunch about that. Well, I have 20-year-old data about that anyway. When I was making that shift, or maybe you're a leader in an organization, you know a lot about leadership, or maybe you're really great at project management and you know that, or computers. People are going to be drawn to you because of what you know. But this is a different skill set. This is like building your capacity to be with people in a different way. And that becomes, for me, that has become my primary skill set, is the coaching experience, the coaching toolkit.
So in a way, I think it's refreshing to coach someone who is completely out of your lived experience.
Yeah.
So that you're not tempted to give them technical expert advice.
It's easier. When you know anything about the topic.
Well, unless it's 20 years out of date, Sandra. There is one exception, I think. It particularly in corporate coaching, it helps to have their vocabulary, so that when they use a technical term, you're not going, "Oh, what does that mean?" Right. So you can hear what they say without having to parse it or understand it every time.
Yeah. I want to grab a
Yeah.
couple things from chat. So Michael added, say that again, build your capacity. I don't know exactly which version of that we said, but it was something about building your capacity. Here's what I'm going to make up, Michael. It's about building your capacity to be with people when they are figuring out what they want, when they are getting clear about their choices, when they are connected to their emotional space, rather
Yeah.
than your capacity to be a problem solver or come in with solutions for others.
Yeah. Greg said, how has the coactive approach evolved in recent years? How has it added more about business executive leadership teams coaching? And how has CTI added more about building a coaching business? Well, the one thing I would start with is we need to do a lot more about teaching and developing coaches to build a coaching business. And that is something that we're about. In terms of the other half of the question, this may seem strange, but it's content free. You can coach executives, you can coach business people, you can coach teams, you can coach leadership. It's about people. It's the process of asking, I call it asking stupid questions and hearing wonderful, intelligent answers.
Yeah, it's really about focusing on people and not problems. And of course, you're tempted to jump into problem solving sometimes because you might have some experience. And that requires self-management that just over time you get better at, and probably stink at it in the beginning. I know I did. I was always wanting to solve everybody's problems.
Yeah.
But to your point, I want to build on what you said with Greg's question. The CTI's focus has never been around team coaching. I just want to be clear. It really has been around the individual frame of coaching. So that is where we focus from personal coaching to executive coaching to leadership coaching to anything on that one-on-one framework.
Yeah.
That's really where we're looking.
There are additional skills and additional tools to use with teams.
Absolutely.
And
there are whole other organizations that focus on that team coaching.
Yeah.
And building a coaching business, we have experimented with a couple of different approaches to that over the years about helping people to build a coaching business. Antony, do you know I don't think we currently have something. I mean, we have some kind of minor things to help people find clients.
No, Sandra, and we are intent on rebuilding that. And that will also come from the community. We are starting to reach out to build community. And we have lots and lots of graduates who built successful coaching businesses, who know what works, who have come from a marketing background, or they've come from a business development background. We really want to capture that so that if you don't have that expertise, then it would be available to you. Watch this space, I would say.
Yeah, I wanted to say too that CTI from the beginning has gone through quite our own transformation. Very much focused on individuals and really not specifically in business. I started, we both started a long time ago when it was really, coaching was very new, very, very new. Like everybody said, what sport? When you say you're a coach,
no one knew what coaching was.
No one knew what coaching was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very much a one-on-one kind of personal coaching back then, which of course evolved into leadership coaching and really anybody that goes through our training, you can apply this model in any context of individual one-on-one coaching. It really does work. And it depends on your background and your experience and the kind of clients that you intend to work with. The model works. You just,
the model works.
We're living through it, both of us. It works.
I think so. I hope so. Yeah. Shelley asks, how might you handle a situation where I think the coaches doesn't know? I think you might mean the clients don't know. And keep coming back to, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Would you want to answer that one, Sandra?
Oh, I think every coach has had a client that says, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting question. Part of what it takes for me, I'll speak for myself, is patience and a willingness to hold silence.
Yes.
Because you're uncomfortable and you like to talk a lot. Like I'm an extrovert. I'm more E than I, right? It's easy to jump in and get nervous about that. But part of what you build as a coach is your capacity to just hold silence and just wait. And if they say, I don't know, I might say, what if you did know?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
just a little playfulness there might be helpful. They don't have to have the perfect answer. Sometimes it can feel like pressure for clients to come up with the right thing. And part of what will help is when you kind of design your partnership before you start is to let them know, you know, that you're there to support them and you don't have the answers. So it's really clear to make that, it's really important to make that clear up front.
So patience, as Sandra said, and being with and watching and waiting for the slightest movement. And then, oh, what's that? Or what's important about what you've just said? And there are people who are not coachable, which is the good news and the bad news. It's very easy not to be coached. You know, you often, you know, if your boss has sent you to be coached, you can sit there and go, oh, you're not going to have any impact on me. And I say that's fine. You know, you don't have to be coached. But often it's built on a resistance, like, I'm not sure where I want to go. I'm not sure how I would need to develop. So I would say gently does it.
Yeah.
I'm aware that we're heading to the bottom of the hour. So maybe time for just one more question, Sandra.
Sure.
Have I got that right?
Got a couple in here I don't think we got to. Might be good if we can get to these two. Susan, what do you got?
Yeah, so we have about 12 minutes left. So,
oh, we do. Okay. Oh, 17. I was looking at 27. Thank you. Ta-da.
Yeah,
okay.
No, that's great. I love how well you're tracking time.
Thank you. A little coaching tool which we use in our courses is ta-da. It means when I've made a mistake or when I've failed. Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Susan.
both doing great, but I think we do have time for those two questions. And
oh, of course,
awesome.
and any others.
Great. So one of them is any advice for young professionals in the sense of being taken more seriously when coaching more senior people and any challenges with age gaps? It's an interesting question. I speak from my own experience on that, Carmen. It's so, you know, I've been in this field for 20 years, but when I started, I was pretty young. And when I went to my training, I was the youngest person in the room. And part of me thought, this is really cool. And part of me thought, maybe I don't have enough experience to do this. Like I doubted myself. I got a little bit in my head spinning about, maybe I need like 5 or 10 more years before I can do this. What I can tell you now, 20 years down the road, is that a lot of that is going to be in your own head about how you hold yourself. Now, certainly there are external things, we'll talk about that, but what you have most control over is how you present yourself in a situation like that. And can you trust that you are there to help somebody think differently? Because if you start to think, I have to have the answers, right, that gets in your head a little bit. I don't have as much experience as this senior leader does, or I don't know this organization as well. That's actually great. Kind of the dumber you are, the better, the less you know. If you can really hold a coaching stance, it's easier because you don't get into that. Well, I know that this person reports to that person, and you don't get stuck in all that detail. So it's a huge gift in that way. And it can still feel a little bit awkward and you can be a little shy. So one of the things we do before we start with anybody is we design our alliance. So we have a conversation with our clients, like Antony did a short bit of that in this demonstration. But it would be like, hey, you know what? How do we want to work together, knowing that we have very different levels of experience in the organization or maybe in this profession? And you hear from your client, what do they want? And what do you need? And you have a conversation about that. So I see you nodding. Yeah, what else do you want to add?
Well, first, I'm picking up on that. I think it's so much a case of being over there rather than inside. And in our courses, we teach how to be self-accepting and to stand in your authority. Yeah. So that is regardless of age. This is who I am. This is what I'm good at. And this is what my impact is. Yes. And remember, in that designed alliance, they almost always know nothing about coaching. Right. And you're the one who's holding the structure. Regardless of your age or your gender or your experience, you're the one who knows about coaching.
Yeah. That's your area of expertise, is helping people get out of their head.
Yeah, into their heart and their bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. Great question. Let's see. Do coaches tend to be more extroverted or introverted compared to the average person? Oh, that's an interesting.
Ooh, what a great question.
My gut response to that is that it's a mix. It's very much a mix. I don't think there's I'm actually right on the cusp of the introvert extrovert, so I can kind of, shift either. But I've met a lot of coaches, and I think that I can't even say I have a trend. What do you think?
I would say they're a mixture.
Yeah.
They're a mixture. I mean, I think we're all a mixture, really.
Yeah.
But some of us, for example, me, are more on the extrovert side. And so our style of coaching is different from the introverts.
Yeah.
So for an introvert, it can be slower, quieter, more holding, more spacious.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. It's like who you are as a coach.
Yeah. I'm going to sit with that question. Do they tend to be more? I'm thinking about all the coaches that I know. I'm kind of doing a little data search in my head.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
think so.
for those of you who know Myers-Briggs, which, there are some doubts about its validity, but our faculty are almost all ENFP. They're almost all extrovert and NFP. But that's basically because we're faculty and we're teachers as well as coaches. But there are introverts amongst us too.
And I'm a TJ. I'm the rare one.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
there you go. Well, yeah,
Interesting.
exactly. Yeah, you need to get things done and have. Yeah, I
Oh,
get it. Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
I write things on my to-do list that I already did. Right. I'm one of those. Yeah. Great. Let's see. Look at the Q&A box for additional questions. Let's see. We've got a couple questions here. How does the client value coaching from an outcome standpoint? How does this differ from mentoring or guidance?
Ooh. Well, I would say you always need to define with your client and with the customer, especially if it's corporate, the customer is different from the client, what coaching is and what mentoring and what guidance is, because they're used interchangeably. So for me, mentoring is that you sit by my side, watch me what I do, you do it, and then I'll point you to doing it better. Guidance is more like teaching. I am telling you what to do and how to do it. Coaching is a relationship where I want to build your strength based on what you want and what you need.
Here's the paradox, right? Because all of us have like a casual definition of coaching, right?
Yep.
Like maybe you played sports and somebody coached you there, or maybe somebody calls himself, they say, I'm coaching you, but they're really telling you what to do. So coaching is a lowercase c, exists in the world long before it became a profession. It's one of the challenges we have is creating a distinction about how we hold the meaning of the word coaching. And it really is about partnering with somebody so that they can get what they want, create whatever change they want in their life, or live the life that they want, or be who they want to be. But it's really got a shoulder to shoulder, us together looking at this, rather than a sports coach that doesn't do that. I never had a sports coach, tell me, well, what do I think about hitting volleyball? It's like, no, you hit it like this and it's going to, be better. So we're come up a little bit against our history of what coaching is casually in the world when this field was created.
Yeah. As for outcomes, I think there's not a challenge with clients because often the challenge is getting to really know what their outcome is. But then it's either happening or they're working towards it or it's not. And then they'll say, actually, this coaching relationship isn't working for me. But almost always, Susan, once we get started, could I just finish this other thought? But for customers, corporates, often they'll come with, we want this person to be more leader-like, or we want this person to be more deadline-oriented. I get them to talk to the client in my presence, and I make absolutely no commitment to outcome. And I will never disclose anything that happens in the coaching sessions. It's up to the client to hear what the customer wants and to design whether or not they're going to achieve it.
I just
a couple more questions. help us out. What's going on?
I just want to say, why don't we take one more question?
Okay.
And then after that, thank everybody for
Great.
coming and wish everybody a good week.
Okay, we have a question from Tim that says, is the aim of every coaching session to have action steps at the end, or is new insight achieved within the session a good enough accomplishment? Great question.
Yeah. Sandra, do you want to dive in?
I want to say yes. Next question.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
in our model, we talk about forwarding the action and deepening the learning in every session. So if you deepen the learning, it makes forwarding the action easy. If you forward the action, it makes deepening the learning easy. And sometimes simply deepening the learning is enough.
It might be reflection. Maybe they leave a session and they journal on something, or I'm going to go take a walk and think about this new insight that I had. That's a kind of an interesting one because it's actually taking an action. I'm actually taking a walk, but my focus is to reflect on, or maybe it's write in a journal, you know, something like that. So we do want something to come out of the session.
Yes, we do want something. Yes.
It might be reflective or maybe, you know, more logistical in nature, but yes, you do want to have some sort of what we would call action step. Could be reflective or.
And the good news is that they're wrapped around each other.
Yeah, they are. They live together. Yeah.
Yay.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming and witnessing and for waving your little hands going up in there. Oh, yay. Thank you. There's another one.
Cool. Thanks for nerding out with us about coaching. We're happy to have had this time with you guys and love the great questions. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Susan, you're muted. You're back. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. And a great big thank you to Anthony and Sandra. And my cat decided to make a little appearance. Thank you for hosting today's webinar and answering all these questions and providing us with such a high quality demo. And we wish everybody a wonderful rest of your week.
Yeah.